Bill Bender, National College Football Analyst, SportingNews.com. Bill, it was great to see you in Atlanta, and it's even more to see here in Tuscaloosa to recap a victory. How are you, my friend?
Well, yeah, and before we get started, I just want to thank you for everything this season, the retweets, the having me on, the exposure. For me, being around this top-notch program in Alabama and everything that, and you and I definitely saw a dandy on Monday night. That was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I want to work our way to the article, but I'd love to get your thoughts just about how the game unfolded, maybe your biggest takeaway as you walked out of that Mercedes-Benz Dome.
Well, I'll be the first to admit, and probably shouldn't do it on your station, I kind of thought it was a wrap when Georgia hit the 80-yard touchdown to McCole Hardman, and they took a 13-point lead. But, the story coming off of this is Tua, and you had hinted at that when we talked at lunch on Saturday to give me some wiggle room in the Hertz article I wrote. You turned out to be very correct because when he came in, I guess the first thing that stood out to me, and I still can't stop talking about, is the way the ball snaps off his hand. And it just looks like a bullet. And he made, the big 4th and 4th play, and that all set up the overtime, which, what can you say, Ryan? That was the craziest 3-play sequence to end a football game I've ever seen.
It was I've been following this sport for, it's my 17th, 18th year of radio here. Been involved in radio since 2000 here in this city. And I've been covering it, from a radio perspective, but I've been a fan a long time of college football. I could not think of a greater comeback with all the circumstances. Yeah, there's been comebacks in the second half. National championship, you add to it. A freshman coming off of the bench that really has played, some, but very little when you talk about experience. Coming into that atmosphere, the behind the way. It wasn't an injury. His team wasn't ahead. They were behind. Alabama was getting smoked, as you said. And it was probably one of the greatest comebacks we've ever witnessed.
Well, and for drama standpoint, too, I can't get the overtime out of my head. Georgia had lost the momentum, but they hit a 51-yard field goal after, Alabama misses a field goal before overtime, and then the sack. You're thinking, at that point, how is Alabama going to get in field goal range? And then as Saban said afterward, and, they call Seattle 4 verticals, that is just a super aggressive play call. And I've watched the throw over and over again, and I know you guys have talked about it, but the most impressive thing about it is, one, the way he looks off the safety, and then two, again, the way he snaps it. And no matter how many times you watch it from that behind-the-play angle, it's just an amazing throw.
Yeah, and can we go back to that sack? Because you didn't bring it up, but a lot of people have talked about, even Nick Saban talked about the sack and how Jalen should not have taken the sack. Well, Bill, allow me just for a second here. I think that was a smart decision. I'm talking about the sack here for a minute. I want because I've never bounced this off anybody, but you and I have the rapport that I can bounce something off of. If I go back and I watch that sack, he wasn't outside the tackle box, and he couldn't sell it out of bounds. So let's take that away. And then when you look at Raekwon Smith was standing right there next to Damien Harris, so throwing it anywhere near there would have been dangerous, and possibly a fumble or pick six. He was about to knock Damien Harris off his block. His only good chance to throw it away, that sack, even though that was a negative play, it was almost sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you have to take a sack. If you throw it away, you're going to be penalized. And if you throw it into other guys' hands, ball game's over. So even though we're looking at that negative sack, it may have been a pretty smart decision by Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, and especially after, he threw the interception earlier into traffic, and as Saban would say afterward, there was a mixed signal there and everything that happened with that. And that's another thing that stands out, and what I wrote about a little bit was this report between, you think we have one, I'm amazed at the one Tua and Saban have already. It's like, everybody loves that old show, The Odd Couple, and this is like that in some ways. And to me, that adds up to the next 2 years are going to be highly entertaining if you're in Tuscaloosa. And even if you're one of those people outside where you guys are at, I think Alabama's going to be entertaining. And it just adds up to Tua being a megastar. And I know that's a little hot takey right now, but how else can you explain what he did in the second half and the excitement level that's going to build around Alabama about seeing this kid play next season for a full year?
Well, and I think you already see the excitement. I mean, today we learned that Damian Harris is coming back for a senior season. I mean, he should be going into the pro, but I think that gives us a little gauge of the excitement around this offense going into 2018.
Well, yeah, and that's what he rubs off on people, and that's what was said. I mean, he was a story on Media Day. You and I, they didn't hide him, but, you know, he was off doing some other things with ESPN or bouncing around, and he didn't do a lot of interviews that day. So it's clear there's something to that. He said teammates love him, and Jalen Hurts handled this well. And as Nick Saban brought this up, I think there's going to be a lot speculated about Jalen Hurts over the next couple of months, what he's going to do, where he's going to play. You know, will he transfer? Will he switch positions? But I'll tell you, in terms of handling that moment in that way, it shouldn't come as a surprise over the last 2 years, and I'm sure you've had these same interactions with a guy that went 25-2 as a starter the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, and certainly those stats are valuable. But I'm also, well, I mean, we'll talk about that another day. But I mean, it's listen, what you saw with Tua Tagovailoa, and you just saw just a small piece of the talent. This offense will be dynamic with all these wide receivers. Damian Harris, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I mean, now you know why he's coming back. I mean, because he has a chance to be a first-round guy. He can come back and put up stats like crazy. I mean, he did it this year with limited carries.
Right, and that's the thing. You know, if you get a couple more guys to stay, the youth move, that class that Saban brought in with all these young guys that were on the field late in the game, I think we're going to start to see it. And it just adds up to not only just Tua, but I think I don't know where we're at in terms of what year Saban's on or when he'll think about retirement, but if this is indeed the back half or the late stages, it could be the most fun stage in a lot of ways for Alabama. And that's not taking anything away from Georgia, because if I had to bet on it, I mean, I think those two teams will see each other in Atlanta next year in the SEC Championship, and I thought Jake Fromm played very well on the other side.
All right, you've written about Nick Saban, and you talk about Nick Saban's message never failed Alabama in its latest national title run. This is a very long piece, and let me invite people to go read it. Sportingnews.com. Find Bill Bender. Find the college football tab. It's very easy to find there. Nick Saban's message never failed Alabama's latest national title run. Sort of maybe help us summarize this a little bit and kind of maybe what gave you the idea to go this direction.
Well, it goes all the way back to SEC Media Days when he came on the podium, you know, came out and said, you know, kind of the mantra for the season was not to waste a failure. And the journey that they took. And I think with Nick Saban, just as a guy that's observed him, I think the one thing, and it's kind of in the title there, he always controls the message. He controls the media in some ways, not controls us, but points us into the narrative that he wants to talk about. You saw that last week. I mean, you see that in any interview. I think he's the most powerful voice in all of college football. And the bottom line is he got these players to buy in. And as he pointed out afterward, this was the year where a lot of starters missed time. And the guts of this call at halftime to pull Jalen, put Tua in, and win another national championship. I mean, it's all. I took my time on that article. You and I had talked about it Friday. I had a lot of fun writing it, but it's more of an observation of who I think, you know, it's not even a debate anymore, who the best college football coach of all time is.
Well, and I keep saying that, but I keep getting some looks. Help us understand why you think he's the best that ever walked the sidelines.
Well, I think when we look back at this 20 years from now, and hopefully, you know, I'll be pushing 60 then, but that's fine. That's a story for another day. That when you look at 5 and 9 years in this current environment where, you know, it's hard to win one. It was hard for Clemson to win one. Ohio State's been good my entire adult life. They have 2. I mean, and that's between one with Urban Meyer and one with Jim Tressel. Georgia's waiting since 1980 and was that close, and yet Nick Saban's been able to pile up 5. They'll be in position for another one next year. He has 6 overall, of course, the one at LSU. And I don't see how they're not in position to win the next 2, at least. So it's just an amazing run. I think his process gets talked about a lot, but at the end of the day, he's got players that buy in. He seems to be having more fun now. I mean, that's that's maybe me reading too much into it. But I think, you know, if I were a college football player, I mean, why wouldn't you want to go to play at Alabama?
Well, I think since 2000, every player that Nick Saban has recruited, LSU and Alabama, has won a national title.
That's absurd. And I think, you know, the way that he's taken this next level and evolved, I mean, you know, his first national championship, helped me out, Greg McElroy, right?
Yes, sir.
And just the way the quarterback position, he's been able to do it with a guy like McCarron. He won one with Coker. I'm missing one, I feel like, right? No. And then he gets the one. His two guys help him do it on Monday, and he's evolved. I mean, because the scary part is Tua's probably, of all these quarterbacks, the most complete playmaker Alabama maybe has ever had. And that makes them that much more dangerous. I think you said it with guys staying. It's going to be really tough to beat them. Now, I think Saban, going into next year when we go to Media Day, his mission he'll probably yell at us a little bit, Ryan, because I think he's not going to want this team hyped up too much.
Oh, I know he will. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this will be the hardest he's coached this team because they're coming off this national title. Bill, I don't have time to get into it. I've got like 40 seconds. But you've also written an article, and I'm just going to ask you, true or false. You wrote a title of an article, and I'm sure your editor probably had a little to do with this, might have twisted a little bit. Tua Tagovailoa brings out the best in Alabama and Nick Saban, and the best is yet to come. You believe that, Bill Bender?
I do. I just think this humorous side of him joking afterward of the, like I said, that odd couple dynamic. I would have your readers maybe read it and tell me I'm wrong, but I just think the best is yet to come for this Tua Tagovailoa era, and I got to learn how to pronounce it. I've been saying
it's
that
easy.
All week.
No. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy, Bill. I'll teach you in 20 seconds, and it'll be great for the audience because they butcher it too. It's Tahn, Tahn, go by by Loa. Tagovailoa. Don't look at
Tagovailoa.
No. You didn't. Tahn Tagovailoa. Tahn. I promise you, do not look at the spelling. The spelling butchers it. It's Tagovailoa. Tagovailoa. I'll send you that.
Tagovailoa.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. Tagovailoa. It's perfect. Yeah, you nailed it right there. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, it's. I promise you, it's easy. If you look at the phonetic spelling of it, it's easy. But everybody looks at that tags because it's what it looks. TAGO tag, and everybody says it. Tagovailoa. No, it's that the Polynesian culture doesn't pronounce the G the way that we do.
So there you go. Then we've got it all set. And you know, Ryan, thanks again for everything this season. I know we'll be talking in the off season because you guys don't have one down there in Tuscaloosa, but I appreciate everything you do for me.
No. Listen, you are absolutely awesome, my friend. It is. I appreciate your friendship and no doubt appreciate the help throughout. Thank you again.
All right, take care. I'll talk to you later.